Jay, you can't run your cards that way, they're gonna overheat. You noob, don't you know that the fluid will just pass right through the first card and not even cool it? So disappointed, Jay, thought you actually knew something about water cooling.
Yeah, this video is just a little overdue. If I had $1 for every single time somebody told me that I was doing my parallel configurations wrong and that it wasn't going to work and that the cards were going to overheat, ever since I started doing Red Mist and then Skunkworks and now Skunkworks version 2.0, I would be able to build another tower, because I'm telling you right now, there's an awful lot of misinformation and just flat out unexperienced people out there claiming to know that parallel configurations with the inlet and outlet on the same side won't work. Now let me tell you what they think is happening, and then I'll tell you what's really happening. Now, in order to try and keep it simple on what they think is happening, I'm going to use a 2-card configuration example rather than the triple card configuration like I have, but rest assured, the fluid dynamics are exactly the same, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, or 5,000 cards, the fluid dynamics will remain the same. Now what they think is happening is that the coolant will enter in the first card. That was actually a pretty dirty gesture, wasn't it? It's going to enter in the first card. Sorry. Pass straight through it because they think that the fluid's going to go, oh, we don't want to go through that block. We want to go to the, the farthest point out there, which might be Pluto. I don't know. But in this case, they think it's going to pass right through the first card, go through the second card, back down through the first card, completely ignoring the first card altogether. Or at the very least, I've heard some people say, well, the card will fill, but the fluid won't go anywhere. It'll just sit there because it's like traffic. The fluid can't, it's got its blinker on, but no one will let it in. The fluid just sits there in the card because the flow in and out between the actual inlets and the second card are taking up all of the space, and that fluid has nowhere to go. Now that is a whole bunch of horse shit. It doesn't work that way, people. What actually happens here is the fluid wants to take the travel of least resistance. Now, how is it going to do that when you have 2 blocks in there? Easy. It's going to split the flow evenly between the two. Now there's an if on this, if both of the blocks are identical. If you put 2 different blocks in there, you're going to end up splitting the flow between them. But it's not going to be an equal split because the least resistance block is going to get more flow and the high resistance block is going to get less flow. That way you have an equal inlet and outlet flow rate. Now all of this works because of 2 major principles. That is path of least resistance and flow rate. As long as those 2 things are present, no matter what, the cards will always get equal flow between them. Now, I've even heard some people claim to be experts to go as far as to say, well, you have to add some sort of resistor into the top card, otherwise you're not going to introduce enough resistance, forcing the flow that's bypassing the first card to actually make that 90-degree bend. I know, I'm a scientist. I trained Stephen Hawking. I mean, that's what some of these people actually think. Now there's something else that people tend to think is going to happen when you have a parallel config, and that being that one card is going to suffer dramatically versus the other card in terms of temperatures. Now that's not actually true. In fact, I have found that temperatures are a bit more stable and equalized between multiple cards when you do a parallel config because the temperature of one card is not influencing the other. All the naysayers saying this isn't going to work, Jay, you're just doing it because it looks pretty and you don't want to admit that it doesn't work. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, that's like, I can't even wrap my head around that one, no matter how much I try. So let's go ahead, and guys, I've had Valley Benchmark running in the background long before this video started, during this entire video. In fact, I've even had, if you can see it right there, a thermometer set up, or not a thermometer, but it's an air meter. It measures the airflow. This is how I know that my fans are actually working. Oh, and I want to point out something else. This whole test was done with airflow fans, AF140 fans on a radiator. Remember how people say airflow fans don't work on radiators, blah, you're dumb. So we're kind of like just busting all the myths on this one, aren't we? So I've got a temperature probe on there, and right now the intake temperature to that radiator, because this room is freaking hot right now because I've got 3 graphics cards dumping heat into the atmosphere, it's 81 degrees, or 80.9 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that actually equates to in Celsius. In fact, I can find out. Let's check. In Celsius, that is actually 72.2 degrees Celsius, and we are 80.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if I stuck this on the outlet side of the back side of the case, this actually bumps up to almost 90 degrees. So why am I even showing you this? I want to show you, in fact, we just went up to, if you can see that, you might not be able to see because of the focus. We just went up to 81.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's pretty warm in here. So the reason why I'm pointing that out is that if I was going to have cooling capacity issues and the way the flow is set up in a hot room like this, it would certainly be more evident. So let's go ahead and turn around and get into the computer and see what the temperatures actually look like.
Transition.
All right, so here is my triple parallel configuration right here. It actually enters in this card first, then splits off to there, and then splits off to there. So all three of my cards are getting 1/3 of the input flow rate because they are all exiting out 1/3. Well, because you have three cards and they're going to divide the flow amongst them. So now with the room currently being, let's see, right now it is currently, 80.9 still in here. So we're holding very constant, which means my cooling system is not heating up any more than it is. We are at full capacity. And if we scroll over here right now and see if we can get that in focus, the cards are currently sitting at 47, 40, well, they're fluctuating, 48, 48, 48. Well, I think we just kind of put this one to bed, didn't we? Yeah, hopefully we can actually see that. Let's go ahead and get the camera a little closer here. Sorry about the shakiness, but I really just want this to be put to bed once and for all. So as you can see, the top card's 48, the middle card 48, the bottom card 48. Yeah, there you go. Now again, I'm sorry about having to point the camera at the screen, but here is our MSI afterburner from when we had those tests running. And I just want to show you, top card max temp 50 degrees. Let's see, oh sorry, there we go. Top card max temp 50 degrees. Middle card max temp 50 degrees. Bottom card, max temp, 49 degrees. Now, you guys saw when we were doing the test, they were actually sitting more like 48. Those are max temps right there. They don't actually show me the average. But as you can see, myth busted. So there you go, guys. JayzTwoCents busting the water cooling troll myths out there. And all I want to ask of you is if you guys see any forums or any other posts or comments of people saying, you can't do inlet-outlet on the same side of a parallel config, it won't work, just show them this video, because I know it's not going to shut them up overall, but at least if we can just get some people educated and we create this army of people saying parallel configs do work with inlet and outlet on the same side, we'll make the water cooling enthusiast community stronger as a whole. Hope this video has helped you guys. Once and for all, this video is overdue, but better late than never. And I hope you guys are enjoying the videos I'm doing here on X99 and whatnot. Follow on Twitter if you guys have any questions about this. Now, hopefully this video made sense to you guys, and if not, just ask me your questions. I'll do the best I can to actually answer them in a manner of which you can grasp it, because I know it's kind of a weird concept, and it's like helicopters. Physically speaking, they just shouldn't work, but they do. Whatever. JayzTwoCents, guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna get the heck on out of here. See you in the next one.